Hello everyone, in this video, we are going to cover the latest chapter of statements and accusations that have been increasing in intensity between the US and Chinese governments. This time, we will follow what the Chinese side has to say. Please like our content and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with these and other developments. Let's dive into the news. The Chinese government has expressed discomfort with the restrictions that the American government has been imposing on companies in China. Through statements made by its representatives, China has accused the US and raised several reasons for these restrictions to happen. They also ask questions, such as, what is America afraid of? The Chinese media, controlled by the government, has also questioned the US's hysteria and threats, which they claim are invented by the American government. Some of the points raised by China include Chinese companies being used for espionage and balloon spying, among other things. Chinese reports and statements by their representatives claim that these concerns are irrational or simply distractions. The White House has given all federal agencies a 30-day deadline to uninstall the short video social network application, TikTok, from phones and other government-owned devices. In a memo published on Monday, 2/27, the director of the Office of Administration and Budget of the White House, Shalanda Young, instructed federal agencies to remove and prohibit installations of the Chinese application and prohibit internet traffic of government devices on TikTok. The U.S. Department considers this measure a critical step in addressing the risks posed by the application to sensitive government data. Director of the U.S. Department of Information Security, Chris Darisha, said, "The measure is part of the government's ongoing commitment to protect the digital infrastructure as well as the security and privacy of Americans." Some government agencies, including the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, and State, have already implemented the restriction. In December, the U.S. Congress passed a law banning TikTok on government devices due to alleged threats to national security. The Chinese ByteDance, owner of the application, denies any interference by Beijing. China believes that such moves by the U.S. only underscore the anti-China hysteria of the U.S. government, and its relevant decisions have gone far beyond reality. The site Global Times claims that TikTok has been trying to demonstrate its global nature. However, in the eyes of American elites, being born in China is a mortal sin. In 2020, then-President Donald Trump even tried to demand that ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, strike a deal to sell TikTok's U.S. operations. In other words, the U.S. government has been trying to undermine this world's leading short film platform that was not born in the U.S., using various excuses. According to the Global Times website, some observers believe the U.S. is actually trying to fan the flames of a broader call to ban the app nationwide. In the global arena, some U.S. allies have already followed suit. Also on Monday, Canada announced a ban on TikTok on government-issued devices. Last week, it was the European Commission and the Council of the EU. China questions why the US and its Western allies are afraid of TikTok when there is no evidence to prove its danger and when it is basically a purely entertainment platform that people can download of their own free will. Against this background, banning TikTok is nonsense. China believes America is behaving like the emperor in the folktale, The Emperor's New Clothes. Mao Ning, a spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, asked at a daily briefing on Tuesday, how unsure of itself can the world's greatest superpower be to fear a young person's favorite app like this? Chinese media speculate that Washington's balloon frenzy in early February has a lot to do with covering up the scoop about what the US did behind the Nord Stream explosion. There's also reason to suspect that the TikTok hype is meant to distract people from the Ohio derailment and chemical spill. Thanks to social media platforms like TikTok, short videos can be uploaded anytime, anywhere. And they helped bring the story to the public when mainstream media covered their eyes. America's crumbling rail system is shocking, and the US government's attempt to cover up the toxic train has been exposed to the world, says China. Going back to the topic at hand, it's clear that the relationship between the US and Chinese governments has been strained for some time now, and the recent restrictions on TikTok and other Chinese companies have only added fuel to the fire. While the Chinese government has been pushing back against these restrictions, accusing the US of hysteria and irrationality, the US has cited concerns over national security as the reason for the measures. What we do know is that many countries have issues related to espionage that they obviously don't publicize. China has become a commercial and military power, particularly when it comes to weapons of great destructive power, which is a threat to the US in many ways, especially considering its main Chinese allies, such as Vladimir Putin, another controlling and dictatorial ruler who sees the US as a significant enemy and a threat. China is an extremely closed country with little or no freedom, and it is practically forbidden to criticize the government. Companies that oppose it can suffer consequences. We had a very famous case, and until today, we know little and will know little about what really happened. Billionaire Jack Ma, one of the founders of the conglomerate Alibaba, was reported missing after complaining to the Chinese government. At the time, even the executive's social networks were out of date for months. Few dared to criticize or reveal the truths behind the relationship with the government. Therefore, the concern with applications and other issues is legitimate. We do not believe that any Chinese company or citizen would reveal if there is espionage or obligation to disclose confidential data from other countries to the government, whatever the reason. Well, that's it. What do you think about the accusations against China, and what about everything that has been happening in recent years between the two countries? See you in the comments, and see you later.